MotoGP has made the 1,500-kilometre trip from northeast Spain to Italy's Adriatic coast, with round 13 coming from Valentino Rossi's backyard at the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. The Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino is one of only 3 European races remaining in 2024, with every point worth its weight in gold. It's time to race in MotoGP. So the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, 4.22 kilometres in length, just over 2.6 miles, located nearby the beach resorts of Rimini, Riccione and Cattolica. Of course, we first came back here in 2007 after a 14-year hiatus. 16 corners, 10 right, 6 of them left. Sector 1 includes a short run down the 530-metre start-finish rate into a tight first corner, tight as well through turns 3, 4 and 5. Turn 7 is more of a fast kink than a turn, overtaking opportunities into turn 9 and 10. Cavone, turn 11, fastest rider around this circuit, 250 kilometres an hour at its fastest point. Turn 1, turns 8, turns 9 and 10 are the most demanding braking points here in Misano. You've got to manage those rear tyres well over the full distance of 27 laps. Plenty of overtaking hotspots, turns 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10 and 14. This was a key moment last year when Marco Bezzecchi found his way into second place on the brakes into La Quercia corner, ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. Coming up next then in MotoGP. Spurred on by a huge San Marino crowd, Marco Bezzecchi looks to steer himself back onto a Sunday podium. He starts third. Frankie Morbidelli is finding his fast form once again with a front row and sprint podium, setting him up for a strong Sunday. The home crowd expects a big Sunday show from Pecco Bagnaia as the world champion powers away from pole. And building a big buffer at the top of the championship, Jorge Martin aims for another Misano masterpiece from row 2. So with one of the starts of the season, it was Jorge Martin from 4th place on the grid who powered through the Italian trio of Pecco Bagnaia, Marco Bezzecchi and Frankie Morbidelli into a lead at the start of the 13-lap sprint, which he was not to relinquish, as Pecco Bagnaia struggled home in second place. The championship advantage now in Martin's favour, 26 points. What a late ballsy move that was from Marc Marquez at 250 kilometres an hour through Cavone corner. But for the 14th time in the sprint era, Super Saturday belonged to Jorge Martin. Playing catch-up once again is Pecco Bagnaia, 26 points adrift in the standings. So whatever happens over 27 thrilling laps of the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli this afternoon, Jorge Martin will be back here in San Marino, back here in Emilia-Romagna for round 14 in 2 weeks' time as the MotoGP World Championship leader. But there is potentially a storm brewing on and off the track here in Misano. These are live pictures on Italy's Adriatic coast. We've had heavy cloud cover throughout our 13th race day of the season so far, and as you can see, we have light rain falling. We are, 40 minutes and a little bit more away from our scheduled lights out here at the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. There have been a few weather warnings around for this Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. Severe thunderstorms. We were hoping to dodge the worst of it. The most severe rain conditions coming later on this afternoon, later on this evening. But as you can see, unfortunately, the fans are going for the raincoats. The umbrellas are up. And that will just ramp up the tension, won't it, as we build up then towards this round 13 of the 2024 MotoGP World Championship. Matt Burton, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box, Simon Crafar down in pit lane. Just looking at our commentary box window now, there are more and more spots of rain hitting our commentary box window just in the braking zone for the first corner. You could not call it, you could not have scripted it. We were a little bit fearful of the rain disrupting proceedings. We thought we got away with it after the Moto3 and Moto2 battles. It could, of course, we hoped, stop raining and dry up very, very quickly for what we hope will be an uninterrupted 27-lap MotoGP race here. Will it be full wet? Will it be flag to flag? Well, it is anybody's guess right now as we build up to the 27-lap race.
Yeah, just if the tension wasn't building enough as it is, that has certainly thrown a spanner in the works for MotoGP riders and teams across the pit lane. We did see a couple of riders in the warm-up this morning. Marc Marquez and Enea Bastianini, they scrubbed in a set of wet tyres, or Marc Marquez tried to, but then broke down halfway around his out lap. We've seen flag-to-flag practices throughout the weekend too, and those flag-to-flag practices might well become pretty relevant. Spots of rain continue to hit our commentary box window. We are still just under 40 minutes away from lights out. Will this rain continue? Will it stop? Will the track be wet, or will it be dry? All of a sudden, all sorts of extra question marks have been thrown into the mix ahead of the San Marino Grand Prix.
This has seriously altered the landscape, hasn't it? Pre-race here in San Marino. What are the conditions going to be when we're lights out in just under 40 minutes time? Marco Bezzecchi then comes into the Pertamina Enduro VR46 Racing Team garage. Front row start for Bez, just the second time he starts on the front row this season. Of course, he'll be in the factory Aprilia team in 2025 alongside World Championship leader Jorge Martin. It's been a tough weekend so far for the factory Aprilia team. Can they find a recovery in this 27-lap race? Well, let's get some thoughts from the boss, Massimo Rivola, who joins Simon.
He does. We're actually sitting on the pit wall in the hoarding there with the screens with the roof, because there is some, you know, it's spitting and it's not nothing, you know, it's enough to be a worry even if bikes were on track. It'll be a worry for the crew chiefs, riders, and the man I'm about to speak to. Massimo, first of all, what is happening recently? I have to ask, because we're used to the strong Aprilia, especially qualifying in Saturdays and maybe second half of Sundays, less strong, but we're used to how good your bike handles, how competitive your riders are, and it seems to have slipped away the last couple of weekends.
You're right. In fact, Aragon was... we were just completely out of the decent working range window, let me say. So we needed to understand what we needed to bring that range back. So I would say that for sure Aragon there's a lot to learn, but I think it's more a sort of one weekend down, but for sure the track is telling something to us that about the characteristic of our bike. Here is a bit different. We come back to a track with normal grip, actually a lot of grip. The fact that we didn't achieve the Q2 is something that for sure we paid very deeply with Aleix. Strange enough, after a weekend where we didn't have at all grip, we come here and we see that in relation we are faster with the medium rather than the soft. So in a normal condition today I was a bit, let's say, not really optimistic, but not too disappointed.
But meaning to be able to use the medium rear tyre.
Yeah, and get a good performance with the medium. But now it starts drizzling, so temperature is getting a bit down, and in this condition normally the soft perform better than the medium. And you know, maybe if it starts raining, you have a flag to flag, so you use the soft with not the race distance. So it's a bit of a gamble so far. It's the same for everybody, but still, if I have to choose now, I will go for the medium.
Okay, so We have a few minutes, and I would love it if you don't mind if we step back a moment, like how you see the project. I mean, this little difficult period, and there's a test coming up tomorrow. You know, what type of things, you know, how do you find your way out of this difficulty?
I think we are quite lucky to have this moment in this difficult period, considering that after the race we test and then we have another race. So on the same track we can test something to understand better our situation. If then the weather changes the track condition a lot, then it's a pity. But for sure it's a very good opportunity for us to learn better some characteristic about our bike, about weight distribution, about tire degradation, about electronic settings, about different rigid concepts. So I think it shouldn't come at any time, but if it comes in this period, I feel lucky that it's coming now.
For the listeners, could you explain a little bit what has been happening? We understand Aragon, low grip, out of the window, but in general, and here, what is the areas you'd like to make an improvement over the two races here and the test in between?
There's not a specific area. I think there is the understanding of how to make the tires work properly. That is the key. And at the end, the best performance comes when you use the tires in the best window. And so we need to set the bike for that specific target. Sometimes it's not easy to replicate because obviously track layout is something, also different level of grip, different level of tarmac, different level of roughness. For example, the micro roughness of Aragon was for us a disaster in terms of grip. So there are many aspects, and the target is to understand what we need from the bike to make it useful for the tires.
Okay, and to be able to adapt to the changing grip levels, I guess.
Correct. That's the key. It's not the key just for us, but what happened in Aragon was we were 4 seconds slower on ourselves on dry condition after the sandy, the sand and water of the night. Everybody were slower by 2 seconds, but we were 4 seconds slower. So we missed 2 seconds. That is a huge gap. I mean, seems that we were 10 years ago where the gap were huge. Now we are speaking about a tenth or milliseconds. So now when you get a second, you are nowhere. So.
Something else I'd like to ask you before I let you go is your view of how things are going between Aprilia and Trackhouse, and it's a relatively new relationship, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
The relationship with the Trackhouse is really good. Davide is, I know him since many years, and let's say the best team principal we could have in a satellite team. So I trust him a lot in his experience, in understanding the balance of the team. For sure, it's generally the last couple of weekends are quite disappointing for all the Aprilias. But at the same time, there are some indication that are coming from that. For example, Raul used the 23 bikes until a couple of races ago, and now he needs to adapt to a bike that it's quite different. So maybe the bike is more different than we thought, and we need to adapt it, to adjust more than we thought. I mean, it's a learning process, and unfortunately, we are not maximizing absolutely the performance. I think that the performance of the bike even today is not the one that we saw, but at the end, crew chiefs, performance engineers, I mean the whole team and maybe needs to learn a lot. We are changing the bike quite a lot every year to desperately go to the top, and the risk sometimes is to lose the way. So this is why I tell you that being in Misano now with the test and another race, it's a lucky period for us. to learn more and then avoid mistakes for the future.
And the last thing I'm curious about is the American side. I heard Justin Marks talk. I was telling David about this last weekend, and he sounded really open to learning about the motorcycles. Your experience with that side?
Well, when the first time I spoke to Justin, was immediately, my first thought was, this guy is the right guy. You know, it's something really cool. Understanding he's a racer. Actually, he was a driver, and you see immediately the speed of his brain. You know, and even having Ogura, it's. In this difficult weekend, seeing Ogura winning the race in Moto2 and leading the championship is something that, you know, you look at the future in a more positive way. This morning the warm-up was good for us, not bad for them. So we need to keep our motivation and a positive view for the future.
Massimo, thank you very much for your time. I'll let you get back to work. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Thanks to Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola, of course. Exciting times for them as they welcome Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi into the fold next year. Unfortunately, more bad news has emerged from inside the official Honda camp. Repsol Honda, a few moments ago, putting out an official statement saying, having awoken with a fever this morning and suffering from a lack of energy and power with his condition worsening, after consultation with Dr. Chartres, that's official MotoGP medic Dr. Angel Chartres, having been diagnosed with the virus, Luca Marini will miss out his home Grand Prix here today to rest and recover, with the aim of returning for tomorrow's all-important Monday test, where Honda have an all-new RC213V to test. Is anybody going to be able to test it, of course, because Marini out of his home Grand Prix here in San Marino, coming hot on the heels of his teammate Joan Mir not even completing a single lap here this weekend, as Mir's been stuck in his motorhome with a real severe bout of gastroenteritis. So we do not have representation in this 27-lap race from Repsol Honda. It just goes from bad to worse. It never rains, it pours, does it? As HRC have no Marini and no Joan Mir. Speedy recovery to both.
Yeah, I think the last time that happened would have been Valencia 2021, when Paulo Espargaro was injured and Marc Marquez was also absent at that time. So no Repsol Honda on the grid, so we're down to a grid of 22 for this afternoon's San Marino Grand Prix. He did pop outside the commentary box a couple of minutes ago while we're hearing from Massimo Rivola. It has sort of eased off slightly. There are one or two spots of rain still falling in the air, but nothing particularly substantial yet. As you can see on the shots we're seeing of the fans in the grass banks and on the uncovered grandstands, the raincoats are no longer on. Information directly from pit lane from Simon Crayfire is that at least in pit lane at the moment it has stopped raining, which I think will be quite a relief to the teams up and down this pit lane. Although, as you saw though, the wet bikes with the wet tyres fitted are still very much on standby.
Yeah, Japanese Grand Prix last year was our last flag-to-flag race, wasn't it, in MotoGP? Potentially some new experiences coming the way of Pedro Acosta, the Red Bull Gas Tech 3 rookie, who took a pretty hard-fought 6th place in the 13-lap sprint yesterday. Seems like he's found that sweet feeling once again with the RC16, got his mojo back. As you can see there now, the rain has abated. Still very cloudy, though, here in this part of San Marino. It's been hot and humid though all day, despite the heavy cloud cover. 30 degrees. Makes you wonder just how hot it would be here today if we weren't protected by the clouds. What's going through the mind then of Pecco Bagnaia? Does not matter what he does here today in Misano, he will not be back in control of the MotoGP World Championship. What a swing we have seen in the last week or so. Well, a 31-point swing, of course, going into Aragon. Last time out, Pecco Bagnaia was 5 points clear of Jorge Martin. 26 he drifts, though. He is now coming here to Misano. There is Pedro Acosta. Does a big challenge await the 20-year-old a flag-to-flag scenario would be a completely new one for Pedro Acosta. You have to say, normally, whatever he gets thrown at him, he does tend to deal with it rather well. So it would be interesting to see how he would deal with the very high-pressure situation of a flag-to-flag. Of course, you've got to judge, first of all, when to come in and pit for your bike. When you go back out on circuit, it's all about then quickly judging and adapting to the very different surface conditions.
Tension that those fighting for a world championship really could do without. Although we did see the title contenders really stand up last year in Motegi when we did have those flag-to-flag conditions. Jorge Martin rode absolutely brilliantly to win on that afternoon. You really do feel if we do get a flag-to-flag, it's in this man's wheelhouse. Marc Marquez, so often the master of the flag-to-flag, including here back in 2015, one of the most chaotic and dramatic MotoGP races any of us have ever seen. It takes something quite extraordinary to match what we saw on that afternoon. Pecco Bagnaia leaves the pit lane for the grid, hoping that those slick tyres are the only tyres he has to run on this afternoon.
Yeah, wasn't that the Grand Prix that Bradley Smith got on the podium on slicks? He didn't even come in, stayed out the whole race on slicks. Scott Redding, I think, was on the podium. What a rarity that was. 2 Brits on the podium. I think Redding had crashed. Yeah, he crashed, changed bikes, and then still got on the podium as well. Fingers crossed then, everything crossed, that we get to use only the Michelin slick allocation here this weekend. If we don't, if there is rain, well, there are 2 options: soft and medium front, soft and medium rear. Slightly tweaked front tyre allocation for this weekend, as the riders will sort of make their way tentatively around this sighting lap, just wary of those few spots of rain that did start to fall, what, about 20 minutes or so ago now.
The official fan club of Pecco Bagnaia serenading their world champion. Pecco Bagnaia's special helmet for this Grand Prix weekend is actually a nod to his fan club. The Italian contingent have certainly pulled out all the stops this weekend where that is concerned. Frankie Morbidelli today debuting a peacock-themed helmet, which certainly catch the eye when you see Fast Frankie coming around. I think the best of the lot, though, certainly our nod, I think, in the commentary box goes to Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's unveiled a glitter ball design, although it wasn't a particularly sparkling Saturday for VR46.
Well, after his first front row start for Prima Pramac Racing, his first front row start in 3.5 years, and his first sprint success yesterday on the podium, Frankie Morbidelli, he's within his rights to be strutting around the paddock like a peacock, isn't he? But what can he do in this full-length Grand Prix? He had a strong start to the Sunday action, did Morbidelli. He was fastest in this morning's brief 10-minute warm-up session. Aprilia fans out in force, a frustrating sprint yesterday with Maverick Vinales, their best finisher, in 11th place. Aleix Espargaro was 1 place behind him in 12th spot. And of course, the rain spots have ramped up the tension, they've ramped up the pressure. I wonder what the heart rate of Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi is sitting at right now. Well, we can find out because he joins Simon.
He does. Davide, it's pretty clear that Pecco wants to get that start. Has he done everything possible to get it?
Yeah, we'll see. You know, this small rain now makes more exciting the decision, but we'll see what it will be the choice of the rear tire of the top guys. I guess that Marc and Denea will be in soft, while Pecco and Martin may be in medium. No decision taken yet. I think that they will discuss on the grid with them engineers. So this is will be the key point of the race, and this small race that looks that it don't gonna affect, because we don't think that it's gonna be a huge rain.
Okay, thank you and good luck.
Thanks very much, Simon. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi, the Ducati boss. Yeah, maybe some last-minute doubts about tyre choice with the heavy cloud cover. Simon just informing us as well from down in pit lane, there are a few more spots of rain that have started to fall. What are we now? Well, we're just over 20 minutes or so away from lights out, then down on the grid. Just look at the anxiety etched all over the faces of the factory Ducati camp. You can see there Davide Tardozzi, who just spoke to Simon, Christian Gabarini, Bagnaia's crew chief, Ducati test rider. What a sterling job he's done behind the scenes for so many years. Michele Pirro on the front row then as Bagnaia departs from pole position. is Frankie Morbidelli. Not exactly sunglasses weather, but we'll let him off as he tries to keep himself cool and collected on what is his first front row start in a MotoGP race since the Jerez round, the Spanish Grand Prix, all the way back in 2021, 62 races ago. Unfamiliar territory for Frankie.
Well, the most important, I think, component for any MotoGP team right about now is not on that motorcycle, it's their weather radars, because as we've already heard in the lead up to this Grand Prix, it might inform what rear tyre choice they go for. If they think rain's going to come during the race, it might force someone or convince someone to go for a softer rear tyre option. As it stands, certainly going to the grid, the front row riders have Bagnaia, Morbidelli and Petzecchi on the front row, and all VR46 front row, all as it stands on the soft rear tyre. Jorge Martin on the medium 4th, Pedro Acosta 5th, Brad Binder 6th. Alex Marquez, Enea Bastianini and Marc Marquez on row 3, also currently with the soft rear tyre. Fabio Quartararo 10th for Yamaha from Maverick Vinales and Jack Miller. We find Aleix Espargaro, should I say, on the 5th row from Fabio Di Gianantonio. Pol Espargaro completes row 5. Zarco Augusto Fernandez and Miguel Oliveira on the 6th row of the grid. On the 7th row, we find Raul Fernandez and Alex Rins. The empty space there would have seen Luca Marini. He's absent through illness, along with his teammate Joan Mir, so no Repsol Hondas on the grid for this San Marino Grand Prix. Taka Nakagami and Stefan Bradl are on the back row of the grid, with only 3 Hondas starting.
Yeah, this is a very tricky situation to manage and just to try and keep you cool, isn't it? These are Pedro Acosta's mechanics working intensely on his RC16 machine. He looks a little bit nervy, doesn't he, Pedro Acosta? Potentially a new experience coming his way. Simon just telling us from down in pit lane, even he can just feel the stress that is building, not just of course with the riders but everybody connected to the teams. You can see there Tex Geisler to Brad Binder's left on the right hand side of your picture. Are they just maybe doing some late changing to the mappings here as we go into this 27 lap race? You can just see everybody's just got a slightly nervous face. Binder has a good look skyward there, doesn't he? At the moment there's no severe rain that's being chucked out of these skies, but yeah, plenty to grab the attention as we get set for then a very special prize-giving ceremony, the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup Award ceremony to take place after what was an unbelievable, thrilling conclusion to this year's series. Taking 3rd place then goes Valentin Peroni, the Argentinian. 2nd in the standings, he was the leader going into the final round this morning, was Brian Uriarte. But congratulations to 2024 Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup champion Alvaro Carpe, and he did it in some style. It went all the way down to the last corner, the last round of the season. Some potential stars of the future enjoying their special moments at the front of the grid. We watched that in the media centre early on today, Lewis. Those 3 riders, in fact the whole of the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup grid, produced an absolute stunner to round off their season.
Yeah, they set quite a high bar to start our race day here at Misano. It was essentially winner takes all between the 2 of them in the title chase, and those are 3 names and 3 faces that are going to be gracing a Grand Prix grid very soon. You can see spots of rain continuing to bounce off the screen of the Prima Pramac Ducati of Jorge Martin. Tyre choice is going to be crucial. Will we only see the slicks or might we see the wets in this San Marino Grand Prix? Let's get a word from Michelin. Piero Taramatos with Simon.
He is. He's also with Yamaha, big, basically engineers, riders, support people trying to get information, and he's about to stop talking. And yes, we've got Piero. Piero, there's a lot of stress down here, people trying to make the right decision, the right adjustments, and especially the right tyre choice. What are your thoughts?
Yes, it's no easy moment. Before coming to the green, before the rain was started to drop, the situation was quite clear. Half riders, they pick up the soft on the rear, some other they prefer the medium. Both are raceable, so there is no one. It gives you a little bit advantage at the beginning of the race. With after 5 laps, the lap time is very close, and then you with the medium, of course, the consistency is better, and you have better stability. Now with a few drop of rain, it changed a little bit the strategy. So they are thinking to go more to the soft, because if the track will be damp, the soft compound will work a little bit better. But let's see, difficult to anticipate. And but we just hope to have a good race.
And the choice of wet tyres, if they do put them in, for example, the other machine, they have to put wheels in there. What do you think they would choose there? Medium, which can last, or the soft, which is amazing in full wet?
Yes, if for sure the medium is the one who will work better in this track. The grip is very good. Also, is quite hot. The soft is designed for a lot of water, a cooler temperature. So the medium will be the best solution.
Thank you, Piero.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Michelin Motorsport manager Piero Taramasso of our sort of title challengers and our big hitters at the front of the grid. The early information coming from Michelin was that the rider on your screens right now, Jorge Martin, has gone for the medium front, medium rear tyre. Of course, he made the dream start. What a start it was at the head of that sprint yesterday. That was the platform for him, taking that 14th sprint success. He's been on the podium 20 times already this season as Jorge Martin. That's why he will not surrender the World Championship lead come the end of play here today in Misano. You can see there Marco Bezzecchi trying to look as relaxed as he possibly can do as we look at the Roman Emperor in Misano, a familiar face to fans all around the world, of course. MotoGP legend, 4-time 250cc world champion, world superbike champion, one of the best to ever do it from this part of the world, wasn't he? Max Biaggi having a little chat with Ducati test rider Michele Pirro.
Recently crowned Italian champion once again, Michele Pirro. Of course, normally we'd see him racing here, of course, absent due to the concessions rules which prohibit Ducati now because of their unsuccess from having wild cards. Well, yeah, we're with you, Pecco. We're all looking up at the skies now, wondering what on earth is going to happen. Just uncertainty, as mentioned, the world champion could do without. He does come into this race, we think, as the favourite, as he shares an embrace with his mentor, with the doctor, Valentino Rossi.
Great to see Valentino part of the atmosphere here as well. We're hoping for better fortunes than what came the way of his two riders, the Gian Antonio and Bezzecchi yesterday. They both failed to finish the sprint after the crashes. Now potentially a big day for HRC tomorrow with a new Honda potentially being rolled out by the Japanese factory. Johann Zarco, 13th on the grid. Let's get some thoughts from the boss, Lucio Cecchinello.
Yes, I always planned to come and see Lucio today because Johann Zarco, your rider, has been riding the wheels off that bike, tyres off at least. Amazing effort. These tricky conditions, everyone in huddles trying to make decisions. What's your feelings?
Well, the condition is tricky, but of course the asphalt is still dry. I think that a couple of riders, including us, we will start with the, instead of the medium rear, we will start with the soft rear. This is, you know, due to the fact that there are some drop of rain, so you will perhaps not stress the tire very much, especially in the first part of the race. I think that we will not have heavy rain, especially in the second part of the race. Perhaps some drops in the first parts. That's the latest forecast, but it can always change.
And your riders in general, a couple of words on them.
Our riders in general, yes, they are still struggling with vibration, chattering, and lack of grip. Let's say that we are a little bit more in difficulty using the medium tire instead of the soft tire. With the soft tire, we have less problems, so I'm quite pleased that at the moment both riders choose to race with the soft tire.
Thank you, Lucio.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lucio Cecchinello. Well, one rider who was planning initially to race that Michelin soft rear tyre was the world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. But as you can see on the graphic there, he has decided late on, a very late switch over. Pecco Bagnaia has gone over to the medium front rear combination, which Jorge Martin's has stuck to his guns. He's already been on that options. Marc Marquez also on the medium rear tyre. Just these change in the conditions. Still very, very hot as Pecco Bagnaia has a little chat to our Italian TV colleagues at Sky. Very, very busy as always down on the grid here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, of course, they will be desperate to see an Italian rider win. Jorge Martin, the winner of the last two sprints here in Misano, the Grand Prix winner in dominant fashion. Jorge Martin, over the 40 racing laps in Misano here last year, did not see anybody else's rear tyre as he powered away from pole position to a start-to-finish victory in the sprint and the Grand Prix. At least he saw somebody's rear tyre yesterday, albeit briefly, after his lightning launch away from 4th place on the grid. If he can do that again today, well, he's going to be setting himself up for potentially his first Grand Prix victory since the French Grand Prix in Le Mans. Can the KTMs get in the mix after Brad Binder was 7th, Jack Miller 8th yesterday in the sprint? Let's get some thoughts from Francesco Guidotti, the boss.
Yes, Francesco, please give us your thoughts on your riders and these conditions.
Conditions are normal. I mean, nothing special. It's cloudy, there's some drops, but no, it's not wet. I mean, it doesn't make it more slippery. It's so we yet, at the moment, yeah. No, we stick on our plan and trying to have a good start and be there with the leading group as much as we can.
Jack and Brad, how do you think they feel after yesterday? I know they tried to make some adjustments to Brad's bike overnight. Did it work in warm-up?
Yeah, more on Brad's side because he has a lot of complaint about front feeling. So yeah, we tried to understand what we could do. This morning with different conditions, it worked well, but we still miss something.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. And thanks to Francesco Guidotti. Of course, the leading Piera Mobility Group rider in the sprint yesterday was Pedro Acosta, over the line in 6th place. Looked like it was going to be a top 5 for Acosta until he was the victim of the late attack market. Let's get the national anthem.
The national anthem performed by Sara Gengiotti. Next, the Italian.
L'Italia se desta dell'elmo di Scipio, se cinta la testa dove la vittoria le porga, la chioma che schiava di Roma, Dio la creerò.
So the Italian fans conducting their own special version of the Italian national anthem. It's their home Grand Prix, of course, for Pramac Racing. Half the job done after Jorge Martin's Tissot sprint success yesterday. Can he complete a back-to-back dream double here in Misano? Let's get the thoughts from the boss, Gino Borsoi, who joins Simon.
Gino, what a race for you yesterday with the sprint, having both riders on the podium. So good to see Frankie back, and how good was Jorge Martin. How is this longer race going to play out different, you think?
Well, let's see what's going on, because the conditions now are completely different compared to yesterday. It started to rain a bit.
It has just now, just to inform the listeners.
Yeah, but we decided to have two different strategies between the riders. So we start with the soft on rear with Morbidelli and medium rear with Jorge, and let's see if it doesn't start. Maybe we can have an advantage with Jorge at the last lap of the race.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Gino Borsoi, thanks Simon. There is Valentino Rossi's playground. That's where the current generation of Italian MotoGP superstars hone their skills, hone their talents at the VR46 ranch in the hills of Tavuglia. A stone throw away from this Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, can you believe this as well? Simon Crafar, once again in our ears. He's like a little roving weather reporter. So this is the third or fourth time now Simon has told us that there is more rain falling, light spots falling, as Valentino Rossi gets himself into his favourite trackside watching position as he looks to see if the likes of Bagnaia, Morbidelli and Bezzecchi, of course, and all VR46 Academy front row as they look to exact revenge on Jorge Martin, as they look to take the victory here in front of their home fans. Those spots of rain that are falling just over 5 minutes away from lights out. This is just about as high pressure as it gets, aside from a title decider in the MotoGP World Championship.
Two things to look out for in terms of flags, in terms of signals to us and to the riders if we do get flag to flag. First of all, you'll see the white panel with the red cross over it. That indicates to the rider that at that particular marshal's post it is raining. Of course, it won't tell them how hard it's raining, but it will tell them that spots are falling. And then once that happens, we will see the clean white flag waved and the white light panel. That will tell the riders that they are now permitted to change motorcycles and flag to flag rules will be in operation.
Pecco Bagnaia looking tense, trying to keep himself as composed as he possibly can. And of course, he's been in this situation before, nothing new as far as the 27-year-old Italian is concerned. Well, if anybody can tell us what the weather's going to be like in this part of the world, it's that rider on screens right now, because he was born and bred right next to this Misano circuit in nearby Rimini. Enea Bastianini, fourth in 4 of the last sprints, 6 last sprints, although he's just losing more touch in the World Championship tussle. Again, we just look out of our commentary box window in the braking zone for the first corner, and there are spots that are continuing to fall. It looks like it's just getting slightly heavier. Just the last thing you want.
4 minutes to the start.
You ask these riders, of course their preference would be a full dry race, no problems, but if you ask them, I think they'd say, well, we'd rather just be full wet. At least then you know what the conditions are going to be, flag to flag. Well, it just becomes a lottery.
What you want to be able to do as a rider, as a team, you want to be able to control all of the variables. When the rain is changing or the weather is changing as frequently as it seems to be at the moment, it is completely out of your hands. You've got to think on the hop and basically react to what's happening in front of you. It might not be the fastest, it might not be the smartest that wins this Grand Prix. It might be the rider, the team that can react the quickest.
Marc Marquez has been the master of so many flag-to-flag encounters down the years, hasn't he? This might be a flag-to-flag or a rain scenario, be his best hopes of winning this Misano Grand Prix as he starts on the back of row 3 in 9th place, paying dearly for a heavy, high-speed crash at turn 15 at the back end of that Q2 session yesterday morning. You can just see there as the BMW safety car peels away. They've had to use the windscreen wipers. You can see a few spots of rain as well falling as the BMW safety car then peels into the first corner. 5 minutes to lights out. 5 minutes to the race start. Is the rain going to stop? Is the rain going to worsen? Questions that 90,000 people packed into this Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli are posing right now.
Well, Pecco Bagnaia will be keeping an eye on his fan club, won't he, on the warm lap, just seeing how many umbrellas go up.
So it's an all-Italian front row, an all-Ducati front row, and an all-VR46 Academy front row once again here in Misano. Third place on the grid, Marco Bezzecchi. Franco Morbidelli goes away from second, but it's Pecco Bagnaia looking for home glory here in Misano. The world champion fires away from pole.